On a warm July afternoon in 1974, at a lake outside Seattle, witnesses watched a young man with his arm in a sling ask stranger after stranger to help him carry a sailboat to his car. By the end of that day, 2 women who had said yes were gone. Their bodies would not be found for 2 months. This is the Reckoning Files. In the winter and spring of 1974, young women began disappearing from college campuses and city streets across Washington state. Most were students in their late teens and early 20s, last seen walking short distances alone. From a friend's apartment, from a laundromat, from a sorority house basement. Police in Seattle and the surrounding county at first treated the cases as unrelated. There was no single crime scene, no consistent time of night, and no obvious link between the victims beyond their age and a shared style investigators would later note: long hair, parted in the middle. By midsummer, the pattern had a name reporters used almost by default: the Ted murders. After witnesses at Lake Sammamish State Park described a charming stranger who had introduced himself that way while asking for help with his boat. A multi-agency task force turned to an unusual tool for the era: a mainframe computer normally used to process payroll, repurposed to cross-reference tens of thousands of names against lists of Volkswagen owners, former psychology students, and tip-line callers. Out of that process, one name surfaced repeatedly: Theodore Robert Bundy, a University of Washington psychology graduate and former law student. At the time, he was one name among many. Nothing yet connected him to a body. He would go on to kill in at least 4 more states before anyone put his name on a warrant. And when police finally caught up to him, it wasn't for murder at all. It was for a broken tail light. Between 1974 and 1978, Bundy is confirmed to have murdered young women and girls in Washington, Utah, Colorado, and Florida. At least 30 victims, by his own later account. Though investigators and criminologists have long argued the true number is higher, and in some cases, unresolved to this day. His method relied less on force at first contact than on performance. Witnesses in multiple states described a well-dressed, soft-spoken man who approached women in public places, parking lots, campus walkways, beaches, asking for help. A jammed car door, a sailboat that needed carrying, books that needed lifting. In at least one confirmed case, in Utah, he impersonated a police officer to get a young woman into his car. The pattern held with only small variations as he moved south and east. In Utah, through 1974 and 1975, women vanished after errands and shopping trips. One intended victim survived an attempted abduction and gave police a description and, later, a car to trace. In Colorado, in early 1975, a hotel guest disappeared from a ski resort inn and was found weeks later in the mountains nearby. Investigators in these separate jurisdictions did not initially share information, and it took cross-state cooperation, and eventually physical evidence tying Bundy's car to a crime scene, to establish that one person was responsible for all of it. This channel will not dwell on the physical details of what happened to his victims. What matters for the record is this: these were not isolated tragedies. They were the work of one man, moving across state lines, exploiting the kind of ordinary trust, a stranger who seems harmless, an offer to help, that still shapes how personal safety is talked about today. Detectives who worked the case have since described the sheer difficulty of tracking a killer with no fixed base of operations, who left almost no forensic trace at scattered scenes across 4 states. For a long stretch of the 1970s, that geographic mobility was very nearly enough to let him avoid detection altogether. In 1976, Utah authorities finally arrested him, not for murder, but for aggravated kidnapping. It should have ended there. It didn't. Twice. Convicted in Utah in 1976 for the kidnapping of Carol DeRonch, the survivor whose testimony helped identify him, Bundy was later extradited to Colorado to face charges in the killing of Karen Campbell, a hotel guest taken from a Snowmass ski lodge. While preparing his own defense, he was given access to the courthouse law library, and on June 7, 1977, he jumped from a second-story window and ran. He was recaptured 6 days later. It did not stick as a lesson. On December 30th, 1977, Bundy escaped a second time from the Garfield County Jail in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, squeezing through a gap he had carved in his cell ceiling, crawling above the building, and walking out through a jailer's apartment. It was roughly 17 hours before anyone noticed he was gone. By then, he had made his way to Chicago, and from there, eventually, to Tallahassee, Florida. In the early hours of January 15th, 1978, Bundy entered the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University. 2 students, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy, were killed. 2 others were seriously injured. A short time later, a few blocks away, he attacked a 5th young woman who survived. It remains one of the most harrowing nights in the case, and this channel will not describe it further beyond the fact of who was lost and who survived. 3 weeks later, on February 9th, 1978, 12-year-old Kimberly Leach was taken from her junior high school campus in Lake City, Florida. She was the youngest of Bundy's confirmed victims, and her case is remembered today largely through the advocacy of her family, who spent decades ensuring she was not reduced to a footnote in someone else's story. On February 15th, 1978, a Pensacola police officer stopped Bundy for a broken taillight and a stolen car. He resisted arrest. Within 2 days, his fingerprints confirmed who he was. Bundy's trial for the Chi Omega murders opened in Miami in June 1979. He chose to act as his own defense attorney, with a team of court-appointed lawyers assisting at his side. A decision that let him question witnesses directly. It became the first trial in American history to be broadcast live and nationally on television, drawing roughly 250 reporters from 5 continents into a courtroom that had turned, whether anyone intended it or not, into a media event. Prosecutors introduced forensic dental evidence at trial, a bite mark matched to Bundy's teeth by independent forensic odontologists. It was one of the first times bite mark evidence played a central role in an American murder trial, and it shaped how that kind of forensic evidence was used in courtrooms for decades afterward. On July 24, 1979, a jury convicted Bundy of the murders of Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy, along with related charges of attempted murder and burglary. Judge Edward Cowart sentenced him to death on both counts. 6 months later, in a second trial in Orlando for the murder of Kimberly Leach, jurors again returned a guilty verdict, helped by an eyewitness account and forensic fiber evidence that matched Bundy's clothing to the crime scene. On February 10, 1980, he was sentenced to death a third time, the sentence that would ultimately be carried out. The sentence did not end the case. Over the next 9 years, Bundy's attorneys filed appeal after appeal, citing his competency to stand trial and errors in the original sentencing instructions. Execution dates were set and stayed more than once. In one instance, with less than a day to spare. It was not until December 1988, when the US Supreme Court declined a final review, that a firm execution date was set. The verdicts closed the book, legally, on 3 of his victims. They did not close it on the rest. Bundy was formally convicted of only 3 murders in his lifetime: Bowman, Levy, and Leach. Even as investigators in multiple states continued to work unsolved cases that many believed, and some have since confirmed through DNA, belonged to him as well. On January 24, 1989, at Florida State Prison in Stark, Ted Bundy was executed in the electric chair. He was pronounced dead at 7:16 that morning. Outside the prison gates, hundreds of people had gathered through the night. His death made national news within minutes. The case also reshaped how law enforcement pursues violent offenders. FBI behavioral analysts studied Bundy's methods while building the Bureau's early criminal profiling program, and his cross-country killing spree became one of the driving examples behind the 1985 launch of the Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, a national database created so that separate police departments could recognize when they were chasing the same person. The case has also shaped true crime media itself. One of the era's defining books on Bundy, Ann Rule's The Stranger Beside Me, helped establish a template modern true crime storytelling still follows. It's a legacy this channel is conscious of, continuing carefully by centering the record, the courts, the evidence, and the victims, rather than the man who generated it. If you want the next case file, subscribe. New files drop Monday and Thursday.